Are we going? Is this
Yeah.
real? This is for real this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hope we don't get hacked.
Megatron, Decepticons, attack!
Howdy roundabout. Howdy roundabout, all you Shaggy Goose Egg boys, and welcome back to another episode of Al Pacino's Prison Scene. This time I am going to introduce us. My name is Thomas, and with me is my co-host, Jake.
You know, I wheeze too much when I laugh.
This week, we have a very friendly email from our very friendly boy, Sam Thompson. You know him from recommendations such as Wayne's World and Friday the 13th, and the one time when he tried to convince us that high chews were candy, but they're not advertised to children. So, by his definition, they are not candy.
Well, so then did he try to convince us, or
So welcome back, Sam. Your recommendations back on the pod. You read the title. You know that this week we are talking about the 1983 film. Apparently, it's a cult classic, Sleepaway Camp.
all right, Sam, you're on the air. Anything to say to the boys?
Very well put, Sam. Very well put.
Thank you.
So, Jake, had you ever seen this movie before?
No, but I think I saw the final image before.
Interesting. I also had never seen this movie before, and I know that breaks our cardinal rule, and I think this movie proves why that is a rule because I think that there's more to analyze on your second viewing than the first viewing because you are aware of things that, for us, will probably get us into trouble this episode. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna go ahead.
probably.
I'm gonna go ahead and apologize for whatever Jake's gonna say that's gonna make him look bad.
Shrek is God.
Nope, we already did that one,
Oh.
and we didn't apologize. So
Oh, I'm looking at this email. I did not know his email was. Might have to
well,
bleep that out.
yeah.
Oops.
We've got the bleep noise from mom and dad because you said popped out of her.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cut that too.
We'll just bleep
Bleep it?
again.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll never know. They'll never know. Maybe we're not saying anything, or maybe we're saying everything.
Beep.
Anyways, yeah, we're doing Sleepaway Camp. I think there was something else I was gonna bring up at the top of the episode before I did the recap, but honestly, I don't remember what it was. So, and you know what they say: if you don't remember, then you forgot. And that's what I did. I forgot.
And that'll be a huge point in this film today.
Okay. So recap: Sleepaway Camp. It opens on
Wait,
a
do you want
bunch
me to
of.
read the email first?
Well, he just says Sleepaway Camp, right?
Yeah. And then because the ending.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
So recap: the film opens on a bunch of imagery of empty things at Camp Arwanok or whatever it's called. And you can hear audio of kids playing, but you can see no kids playing. Oh, what does that mean? I don't think the guy who made this movie knows. But then after that, it cuts to this family playing on a boat, and they're like, "Oh, we're having a good time." And then it cuts to these kids on a different boat, and the girl's like, "Let me drive," and the guy's like, "No, but okay." And then he lets them drive, and then they kill the dad and one of the kids that were playing on the other boat, and you're like, "Ah, no, that's not good." And then it says 8 years later, and so the kid that survived is now living with her aunt and cousin, and the aunt is like, "Oh, you get to go to camp. It's camp time. Here's your physicals." And so they send them to camp, and throughout the whole movie, everyone's like, "Ah, man, Angela, I hate you," except for Ricky's friend Paul. Paul's like, "Hey, Angela, you're pretty cool." And so miraculously, every single time that someone bullies Angela, they end up dead. So who's doing it? Is it Ricky? Is it Angela? Is it Paul? We don't know. But every time somebody bullies her, they end up dead. And then the movie keeps going. And then the guy who's in charge of the camp is like, it was just an accident. Nobody's killing anybody. but he thinks that Ricky's doing it. So he's like, Ricky, you killed my girlfriend, even though I'm 80 years old. She's like 20 or younger. You killed her, so now I'm going to kill you. So he thinks he kills Ricky, and then he walks out of the forest, and he's like, it can't be you. And then he gets shot through the neck with an arrow, and then he's dead. And so then Angela is like, Paul, meet me at the beach. And Paul's like, okay. So they go down to the beach, and then at some point these little kids died. I don't know why they died, but they did. So then this counselor's like, hey, all the little kids died. And then all the other counselors are like, oh, we got to go find out everyone else that's dead. Oh no, Meg's dead. Oh no, Judy's dead. Oh no, Ricky's not dead. Yay! But that's the last time we see him, is he's like coughing up blood or something. And then they go to the beach and they're like, Angela, what are you doing on this beach holding Paul? And then you get a flashback, and Ricky's mom is like, oh, I always wanted a daughter, Angela. Don't you want to be my daughter, Peter? So it turns out that the kid that died in the beginning was actually the girl, and the boys who survived. And so then we go back to real world, present day, and Angela holds Paul's severed head, and then she stands up, and she's got a penis, and they're like, Angela's a boy? That can't happen. And the movie ends.
And she's like,
yeah, she's making some really weird noises that I don't know if a human can make.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah. That the end, yeah, Sam, yeah, the ending, yeah. Yeah, that was, yeah.
So I remembered what the other thing I was going to ask you, Jake.
Okay.
Did you like this movie?
I think you already know the
Because
answer to that.
you did not like Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So you didn't like this?
Correct.
Well, I also do not think this is a good movie, but it's largely because of the reasons I think Friday the 13th is a good movie.
Okay.
So this movie came out in 1983. Friday the 13th came out in 1980. And so I think that this was playing on some of the themes of Friday the 13th. Like, for instance, the POV camera shot, like lurking in the shadows.
Right.
Except here, like, the camera actually moves, so we think it's a person. Whereas in Friday the 13th, I don't think it was ever actually a person. It was just intended to make us think it was a person.
Okay.
But there's a lot of things in this movie that are a little problematic, honestly. And then also, I think what the guy who made this movie was intending just pure shock value. I think the ending is what that was supposed to be.
I agree. But I'll also say, so in the beginning, when the person died, and I thought it was the girl.
I did too.
It was the girl.
Yeah.
And so when it flashed back, or when it flashed forward and it was a girl, I was like, wait, didn't the girl die?
So did you know about the twist? Did you know anything about this movie?
No, I didn't. But that's why I was so confused the entire time, because I was like, wait, the girl died.
So I knew about the twist, but I was still also confused throughout, because when they're showing the shots, the POV shots of the quote unquote killer, I assumed that they wanted us to think it was Angela, and so that meant it was actually Ricky.
Yeah.
But I think that they were actually trying to do the opposite. I think they were trying to make you think it was Ricky, because then you have Mel, who's the owner of the camp, being like, you're killing all the people. I saw it in your eyes. Then it turns out it was Angela the whole time. And so on the surface, I'm pretty sure it was like several months ago, 4 months ago, probably, when we did the Friday the 13th episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what our main consensus there, before we veered off into like Vietnam or whatever you started talking about for some reason.
I don't remember that at all.
Was basically sex is bad. Don't have sex. That's the meaning of this film, because if you have sex, you're going to die. And so in this movie, the obvious meaning seems to be don't bully people, because if you bully people, you're going to die.
You're going to die.
But then you have the twist at the end where it's like, oh, she's a boy. And so for a lot of people, they say that in this film, Angela was transgender. But I disagree with that statement.
Okay.
And the reason I disagree, so I'm going to preface this. This statement might make people upset, because I don't know exactly what I'm talking about.
But that's what we do here at Al Pacino's Prison Scene.
The way I understand transgender people is that they decide or believe that they were assigned the wrong gender at birth. And so to correct that, they become transgender and say if they were born male, they believe that they were it's supposed to be born female, or they believe that they are female, they will have an operation to become a female, and then are then in society as a female. But in this movie, it was not Peter's choice to become Angela. It was thrust upon him by Ricky's mother. So that's why I would not consider Angela to be transgender. And maybe that's not really a sticking point, but
Which
that's
is
just what I think.
which is weird that the mom was like, "You're a girl now,"
Yep,
because there was no reason for that besides the line, "I always wanted a girl."
right. And I have something about that. But before that scene happened at the end, which because it's like literally at the very end is where we see that.
Literally the
Um,
final image.
I think it's knowing about the twist at the knowing about the twist at the end that Angela is actually Peter, but not knowing about the conversation with Ricky's mom. I assumed the meaning of this was going to be something along the lines of like gender equality or like sexuality or gender identity. But because it was the mom who forced Peter to become Angela, I don't think that's the case. I think the true meaning of this film is about the influence that parents have on their children and the responsibility a parent has to their children.
I don't know if I can agree with that though, and maybe you'll be able to convince me here. But like, Peter had his head wrapped
Yes,
because he was wounded, I guess, and he got hit in the
from
head
the
or
boat
something.
accident, I guess. Yeah,
Did he?
I don't know.
I mean, we don't really know, and like the only thing we see in the boat accident is the dad, uh, like dead. I don't know how he died,
Well, I assumed he got decapitated, but then his body was floating with a head.
and no
So
blood or anything.
yeah,
And then like we didn't see the sister's body,
her
and
life jacket
then
just floats up and it's all
right,
like crumpled and
and
stuff.
then Peter just is like, ah.
Yep.
So I don't know, like I don't know if it was just like a mental thing, like he was just traumatized.
Yeah.
But then is it because he was traumatized that he killed everybody, or
What are you saying was because he was traumatized?
the accident?
I know, but what are you saying? What are you saying?
I'm asking a question like why was his head wrapped in bandages?
Oh, I just assume he was injured somehow.
But we didn't see that at all.
I don't know.
And like that's a huge point for me is like,
Well, you don't have to see something happen to know it happened. In game, you didn't see Hulk and Banner come together, but Smart Hulk is still Smart Hulk.
yeah, but that's I want to say that's different just because yeah, but he also says it. He's also like, yeah, me and the big guy, we had some stuff to work out, and it was also set up in the earlier movies.
I disagree.
Um, but well,
I'm just saying things can happen off screen.
yeah, but it still
He
doesn't.
was just injured by the boat. I think that's the
Yeah,
easy
that's
explanation.
not enough for me.
Okay, well that's what happened.
All right, and so like, why did he kill all those people then? Is also the other question I'm asking.
That's just because he was being bullied, I guess, or she was being bullied. But then, so I guess you won't have an answer to this since you're asking overall. I don't know why the little kids got killed. The little kids that were like sleeping in the sleeping
I don't
bags.
either, and that's like part of the question I'm asking. Like, yeah, there were a bunch of people that got killed because Angela was being bullied, but then the kids, why did the kids get killed?
I don't know, I was going to ask you that, but it seems like you don't have an answer, so we're just
No,
not going to
I
get an answer
don't.
to that one. But as far as Peter becoming Angela, I think, well, number one, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why Peter was sent to Ricky's mom, because at the beginning of the film, you have the dad on the boat with the two kids, and
Right?
then this other guy comes up and is like, "Hey, we got to come in soon. The doctor's going to be here at 4:30." Blah blah. And the dad's like, "Oh, okay." And
Why the doctor?
that's the mom. That's Ricky's mom. She's a doctor.
Oh yeah, because she's like aunt, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the kid's like, then the Peter's like, "Is Ricky coming?" And then the dad's like, "No, he's at his dad's house." But so when I started the film, I just assumed that was like a friend, a family friend.
Yeah.
But then in one of the flashback sequences, this is when Paul is on the beach and is trying to get Angela to take her shirt off. And then she has this flashback sequence of Peter and Angela as kids watching the dad and that friend in the bed showing affection to each other.
Oh, right.
So
That was
then,
a flashback? I thought that was some trippy ass dream sequence.
well, I guess maybe it could be. Then I was thinking, well, then they just have two fathers. But if they had two fathers, then why would Peter be sent to Ricky's mom?
And what's wrong with Ricky's mom?
Well,
Dash.
I know the answer to that one. But so I don't know why that they would be taken away, unless since this was the '80s, it wasn't an open gay relationship.
Right.
But then I also had the question, why are they laughing at their dads showing affection to each other? Is this what they felt at that time, or is this something Angela has internalized over the years? Because as you pointed out, maybe this was not like a true flashback sequence, and it's something that her conscious self feels now,
Yeah.
and it's just like showing it as the kid because that's the last time she was truly herself, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That still doesn't. I don't understand why they were laughing at that. And I guess the answer is supposed to be she's uncomfortable with her own sexuality, but because of the mom being the one that made her change genders, then I don't believe that that's the case.
Yeah. I honestly don't know.
But you mentioned the mom, so I'm going to propose something here.
Okay.
What I believe was going on there,
Because she's a
is that
doctor, right?
yes, but that's
Okay.
not important. Well, I guess maybe it is, but not for what I'm about to say. The mom. So when the movie started, like I said, I hadn't seen this before.
Right.
So I like the kids on the beginning on the boat, not the dad and Angela and Peter, but the other kids that like crash into them. I thought were bad acting. So I was like, okay, so this movie just gonna be full of bad actors, and that's intentional. And so immediately following that, I also thought that the mom was a bad actor, and I wrote down why is the mom so over the top? She keeps having asides. She doesn't seem all there. But then later in the film, I believe this is explained in the flashback when Peter's head is wrapped that you were talking about, because she mentioned, like you said, that she always wanted a daughter, but then when her husband left her, that was no longer an option. So what I believe happened was that when her husband left her, for some reason her psyche broke, and then she became transfixed or fixated on this idea of having a daughter. And then that's why when Peter came, she was like, "Oh, I already have a son, and now it's my chance to have a daughter."
But then, like in the very beginning of the well, not the very very beginning, but when she sends Angela and Ricky to the camp, she's like, "Oh, I think I forgot something, but I can't remember what I forgot." And then she has like the little tie or whatever on her fingy, and then she's like, "Ah, see, I wrapped a little thingy on my fingy to remember, but I don't remember." Oh yes, and that whole thing is like super weird.
Yeah, because she has a broken psyche.
Okay, I guess I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard for me to believe that.
Why?
I don't know. It's just there's not enough evidence.
Well, then what do you think it is?
I don't. I have no idea. I mean,
Well,
I think that's the most. I think that answer is probably the most accurate, but at the same time, it's just like it feels sloppy. Like it doesn't feel like it didn't feel real.
well, Jake, if you're unfamiliar with this podcast, what we do here is we look at movies that have no meaning and we find the meaning within them.
You're right, and I'm having a hard time doing that with this one. The same way with Friday the 13th. I just something about slasher movies. Just I just don't get them, man. It's all your fault, Sam. You're making me look like a Dumbo.
Sam exposes the true Jake. But then you also you asked why does Angela kill these people? And I do think it's because she's being bullied.
Mhm.
However, in one of the scenes, it appears for like a brief moment we can see it's not a POV shot from the killer; it's a shot looking at the killer.
Yeah.
And Angela appears to be dressed as a boy, presumably as Ricky, and that's why Judy was confused when she came in the thing.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, okay, well maybe uh, that's like the Peter persona coming back and killing her. but are killing people. But this is why I think this is not a good movie. Because, well, actually, hold that thought for a second. I think it's clear that Angela herself has a broken psyche. And I think this is largely because I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that developing a mental illness is more influenced by environmental factors
Mm-hmm.
than genetics.
Right.
I think that's something I learned in psychology. I could be making that up. But if that is true, then it would make sense. Better out than in, I always say. If that is true, then it would make sense that Angela has a broken psyche
Yeah.
after spending all this time with the mom, with Ricky's mom, presuming that she herself has a broken psyche. It was just something that was passed down.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I would say that Angela has the broken psyche and not Ricky is because Angela was also presumably Peter came to Ricky's mom immediately following the accident. That's what I think we're supposed to assume.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the case, then Peter was probably traumatized from that event, and then the mom used that trauma to shape Peter into Angela, in which case Angela herself now has a broken psyche. And
So, I mean, is it just that then? Are you saying it's just that she has a broken psyche and that's why she kills people?
yeah, because that's just psycho killers. Like if you look at even in Friday the 13th, I would say Mama Voorhees has a broken psyche because of
Yeah.
her son Jason died. Or if
Well,
you've
but
seen,
see, at least that one makes more sense, and maybe because they like drowned Jason or whatever, or didn't help him when he was drowning or whatever, and so maybe there's some semblance of that here. Is that like the kids weren't paying attention and they killed the parents, but that was more like ignorance and obliviousness. So if we follow the trends of like slasher films, well then the killings would have something to do with uh the original circumstance of the killing. And like maybe it does here, but it's not a 1-to-1 correlation. It's not Angela isn't killing because these people were oblivious. She's killing because she was being bullied. That doesn't quite line up, I don't think.
and I agree with that. I don't think it has anything to do with the initial killing, which is part of the reason I think the guy that made this, I'm pretty sure he wrote and directed it. I'm pretty sure he built this. He built this whole thing on subversion and shock factor with the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because this came out in 1983. Friday the 13th came out in 1980. This is in the heat of the slasher genre. So I think for the most part, he was the guy who made this was trying to make a slasher that was different than other slashers, but in doing so, made one that made less sense
Yeah.
than the other slashers.
Yeah.
Even though they themselves, if you look at them, especially like after the first Friday the 13th, those movies don't make any sense.
Well, and I guess Halloween is basically that, where uh Michael Myers, right?
Yeah.
Michael Myers just kills because he is crazy or psychotic.
Well, I don't think that's true in the first movie, but it is going
Later,
forwards.
yeah, okay. Which one has the haunted house? That's the second one, right?
I've only seen the first one and the 2018 one.
Okay.
Well, I've also actually seen Halloween 3, but Michael Myers is not in that one.
What?
Season of the Witch is a different movie. But about Angela and her psyche, there's also that dream sequence, which is arguably a flashback, arguably not. And this is where the movie completely loses me. Because again, I think what the director was trying to do was suggest questions of gender identity and sexuality, but ultimately it all falls flat. And what I'm talking about is there's a scene, this immediately follows a scene where Angela and Peter are laughing at their dad, and uh, I assumed their other dad, but potentially not. Their dad and the other man in bed together, caressing each other. They laugh at them there, and then this scene happens where Angela and Peter sit on a bed, and they like fade in and out, but every time they fade back in, they switch places.
Yeah.
And the whole time, Peter is pointing at Angela with his finger creeping ever so slowly forward. So I'm not entirely sure. I think this scene is supposed to be saying something, but I don't know what the intended meaning is. So I wrote down the question: is this supposed to suggest that Angela is suppressing the Peter personality because she has been trained to believe that she is Angela, or simply that she is confused about her own gender identity or sexuality. But if it was meant to be the latter, then why is Peter the only person pointing and it doesn't alternate every time they switch?
Yeah.
Because if she was questioning her true gender identity and sexuality, then I think that it would make more sense for them to alternate between each other.
Right.
But it seems like her brain is trying to tell her she is Angela. And what I think is most interesting about this is she snaps back to reality
Snap back to reality.
as soon as Peter is about to touch Angela.
I think I like the idea that Angela is suppressing the Peter personality, which would explain at the end why Peter comes out.
Well, I think Peter was the one uh,
Doing killing?
killing, yeah, which is kind of reminiscent of Psycho, which I don't know if you've seen that, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
You have?
The Hitchcock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, spoilers for Psycho. If you haven't seen Psycho, you can skip this part, I guess, if you want to, but it's kind of integral to this being not a good movie and the meaning of this movie, Sleepaway Camp. So I think you have to listen. You just have to have Psycho ruined for you. Sorry. So in Psycho, Norman Bates is killing people, but he's killing people under the guise of his mother, Mrs. Bates, who has been dead for a number of years. So because Norman's mother died, Norman has always been obsessed with his mother. Okay, well, a little bit of a backstory here. Norman's father died at some point, and then Norman's mother was the sole caretaker of Norman, and then Norman's mother fell in love with another man, so Norman killed that man and his mother because he believed that he was the only man who should ever have his mother. But in doing so, now he himself doesn't have his mother, so his psyche broke. And then he started to have a split personality where he sometimes believed that he was his mom. And that was born out of a deep love for his mom. And I think that this movie, Sleepaway Camp, would have been really good, or at the very least, a better film if something similar had happened here.
Hmm.
Because, as I said, I knew about the twist at the end with Angela being male, but I was not aware that the mom was the one, Ricky's mom was the one who predicated that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right word there. But so what I think would have made this film better, and granted, I know it's a lot easier to look at a film after the fact and be like, well, this is what they should have done. But what I think would have made this film better is if after the accident, Peter was so traumatized by the loss of his sister and father that he began. Oh, hold on. I think I wrote this down. In an effort to keep them alive, he begins to believe that he is Angela. And so that's where the split personality would form. And then because of the broken psyche, that is why he's killing people and then I think it would make more sense for Peter to come out then, because if he believes he's Angela to keep Angela alive, then when people are bullying Angela, then Peter would want to come out and protect his sister, which would also thematically, I think, make more sense in this film because of the fact that Mel thinks Ricky is the one doing the killings to protect Angela.
Right.
And then that also goes back to Psycho, because the only reason Mrs. Voorhees kills Norman Bates as I said Mrs. Voorhees. Norman Bates as his mother, Mrs. Bates, kills the women in that film is because Mrs. Bates believes that they are going to take Norman away from her.
Right.
And that's kind of the same thing there. And Psycho is agreed by most people to be one of the best, first of all, just one of the best movies ever made, but without a doubt, one of the best thrillers ever made. Is it a slasher? I don't know if I would consider it a slasher because there's only one death as far as I know. But yeah.
Well, I was going to mention that with Meg's death was reminiscent to Psycho, so that was going to come eventually.
In the shower scene?
Yeah.
And also, what's interesting about that is I'm pretty sure that's the only death we actually see. All the other ones.
We you see like somebody getting killed?
Yeah.
True. Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think
the only other one that I think would come close is like the boiling water guy.
Yeah. But at the same time, we never see them actually die necessarily. Like the drowning thing, yeah, we see him go underwater, but then we don't see the body until the next day.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think you're right.
Also, the B one makes no sense. But
You're saying that in the context of this film.
yeah, I know.
So, um, I was thinking there were going to be 7 deaths, and
Why?
well, near the end I was, because I was at like 5, and I was like, oh, are there going to be 7 deaths here? And there kind of were. So I was thinking that maybe this has something to do with like the 7 deadly sins. Because it kind of falls apart though. One that I can say for sure was that, like,
Lust?
yeah, lust with the boiling water guy, and then Mel. Um, I don't know what his deadly sin would be, but what why he died is because he couldn't keep his, because he was telling everybody to, like, keep things on the DL, on the down low, and not say anything about it, and he was shot through the throat.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's symbolic. It's
Yeah,
metaphorical.
but there are 7 instances of killing. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it, because there's the
What?
first one with the
Oh,
boiling water
oh,
guy. There's the guy who drowns. There is,
the bees.
yeah, the bees.
Then you have Meg.
Then
And
there's
you got
Meg,
Judy.
Judy,
There is
and
7.
then yeah, I know, but I don't know, because they all die pretty much doing, like, they all die because of what they were doing, except um the third death, the bees, is the only one that kind of doesn't line up with that whole idea.
What do you mean they died doing what they were doing?
So, like, the first guy, Artie,
The chef guy.
the chef
I don't know his
guy,
name.
like, he was cooking and he got dumped in the boiling water, and his skin was burned, which is sort of symbolic to the idea of lust, that, like, sexual attraction, like physical attraction. Now, granted, he was a very, very dirty man.
Right.
And then, like, the second one, the guy was trying to trick her in the water and he was drowned.
Yeah.
And then the third one, he was pooping, and so bees.
Right.
And that one doesn't quite make sense. And then the fourth one, oh, she was taking a shower. Maybe, okay, so maybe this, well, that's lust too. She was taking a shower. She was killed in the shower.
Yeah.
And she was taking a shower to go see Mel. So, and that's why she was kind of sinful in that sense. Although I say sinful, she was doing bad things.
Right.
And then the fifth, Judy was killed with a curling iron.
Yeah.
Again, doing the dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sixth was Mel. He was telling everybody with his words to keep it shut, and then he got shot in the throat. And then the seventh one was the kids. So there's 2 out of there that,
Well, I was gonna
kind
say
of
the
don't make
7th was
sense.
Paul. He gets
Oh,
decapitated.
that's true. Paul, he gets decapitated, and I guess, yeah, I don't know that one either. So I was hoping, like, I was kind of hoping that would come to a point, because, like, that's a very significant thing to be happening in the film.
Right.
Because in Friday the 13th, everybody died for a specific reason, and, like, here they kind of did because they were bullying Angela, but then also the way that everybody died in Friday the 13th also made sense in a way. And
Yeah.
here it almost does, but not quite. Like, almost all of them line up to mean something, except, or at least the way that they died lined up to mean something, except the bees and his head.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find something there, but I didn't. And at the end of the day, what I came up with was like, don't judge people because they're different, which
Yeah.
is essentially the same thing you were saying.
Yeah. And I think that's like the base one, but because of the whole gender switching thing, I think that was the guy's, like, intended meaning, but at the same time, I don't know if he actually intended any meaning, and he was just going for the shock value.
Yeah.
And speaking to that, I don't think this movie has a denouement or a resolution. I think the climax of this film is finding her on the beach with the head, but then the movie ends. Because, like, Friday the 13th has the girl out on the lake, and then Dream Jason comes out of the lake and gets her. And then, but then, like, it cuts to her in the hospital, and,
Yeah.
and she's like, "What about the boy in the lake?" But this just ends on Angela being like, So this doesn't have a resolution. Even in even in Psycho, that movie's denouement resolution is in the police office where Norman has confessed to the murders,
Right.
and then the movie ends.
Well, and we get a sense of reason for the killings.
Yes,
And like I said, I've already said, I just don't. She was being bullied, and that's why. But that could also be a very problematic message.
right.
Like if we're moving on along with the idea of like you know transgenderism. I don't know if that's a word.
Nope, probably not.
Um, but then that could be problematic because it's like, well, if you don't, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like if you're intolerant, then you die. You know, which is kind of like Martin Luther King Jr.'s like thing was like the like a peaceful protest and all that stuff, and like not killing the other people just because they don't understand. But this kind of points to do kill them because they don't understand. But then they also didn't know, so
Yeah.
maybe not.
Do you think that Ricky knew?
No.
I
Well,
because I don't.
no, I don't think so. Well, maybe, and maybe that's why he was always so quick to defend.
Because there's one point in the film where Paul says to Angela, like, "Hey, Ricky told me about everything. Sorry, what happened to your family? Blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
think if Ricky did know, he would have told Paul that as well.
It's
But
true.
it doesn't
True.
seem like that Paul knew that.
True. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So and then I was trying. Yeah. Trying to think of what else there is
Well,
even
I
in this
mean,
film.
so I mean, like I think the psychology thing is the big meaning. That's the big meaning for me. But I mean, there's also things throughout, mainly in the first half, where like that first guy that dies, he has a line that says something like, "There's no such thing as being too young. You're just too old." And then later, or really brief shortly after that, Judy is talking to some guys, and then Ricky's like, "Hey, weren't those guys a little old for you?" And then Judy says, "Don't you know girls mature faster than boys?" And then you have the relationship between Meg and Mel, which is present throughout in the background. And then eventually we have Meg being like, "Hey, can I come to your dinner, Mel?" And so there's like that age gap romance thing there, but I don't know what to make of that. And then there's also, you mentioned this already, Mel covering up each of the accidents. So that's like
Yeah.
corporations taking like not caring about their
Yeah.
employees or individuals and just worrying about public image.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because there's also Robert Earl Jones, which is that his brother?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Robert Earl Jones, the chef guy.
Oh,
Is that his brother?
whose brother?
James Earl
I
Jones.
don't know.
Well, let's find out. Robert Earl Jones. He was in like the first 15 minutes, and
No,
that
I
was
know
it.
the character you're talking about,
Oh
but
no,
is
James Earl Jones is his son. Oh, interesting. Okay, but like I thought this was gonna play more into it because like there's this huge part right after the first guy dies. Artie dies. Mel is like, uh, well, looks like you're gonna be the next chef, the head guy, and he was like, oh well, thank you, sir. And then like he's like, "Oh, that's 15 more bucks a week, and also 15 more bucks for the rest of the guys." And all the other guys were like everyone there was minorities in the
yeah,
in the kitchen. So I thought that was going to be present. And then like after that,
you don't see him again,
they're just not present at all.
right?
So I thought that there was going to be some, and so maybe this whole thing is discrimination is bad because there is just semblance of all that throughout the film. But why have it at the beginning and then not have it at the end, just with the chef thing? Because like, what does that pan out to be? Nothing.
Right. Well, I still think that the main focus is the parents and the psyche.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, what you're saying is also present. And there was something else I was about to say, but I forgot what it was.
Well, and so this makes me think about Fear and Loathing. Is like how Fear and Loathing there's just so much stuff to unpack, But I feel like all of that has a place in the film, whereas like this, just there's a lot of stuff to unpack, but you open the box and there's nothing in there.
Right.
You unwrap the gift and it's just it's just a rock.
I got a rock.
And then when you open up the box in Fear and Loathing, it's a puppy every time.
One thing I do want to ask you is why does the film open on the empty imagery of the camp?
I was
Because
really
then
yeah.
because then it also like it's very eerie, and I do like those images, but in the context of the film, it makes
It
no
makes no
sense
sense. Yeah, and like
because it shows us the sign of the camp that the camp is closed. So what I thought was going to happen is this was going to be like a Friday the 13th situation, because if you recall in that film, after the death of Jason, the camp was shut
shut
down,
down. Yeah,
and then in the movie, it's being reopened for the first time, which is why
Mhm.
Miss Voorhees comes in and kills everybody.
yeah, yeah. And it was super well. Good. Bleh.
Ugh,
The imagery was super well. It was these empty places, but then like
you can
the
hear the
echoes
kids.
of kids like running around and stuff. But then that never has anything to do with the rest of the film. And I assume this is right after uh the sister's death. And then also, yeah, for sale, and then the camp is called Camp Arawak,
Okay, I knew it was, I couldn't remember what it was exactly.
but the film is called Sleepaway Camp. So I'm kind of confused about that too. I don't
Uh,
understand. I thought maybe backwards, but it's only Kawara. Like I don't know what that means.
well, I think part of that is again just like the subversion. He's trying to subvert slasher expectations. So like Sleepaway Camp versus Friday the 13th sounds a lot more ominous than Sleepaway Camp. I think.
All right. Karawa is a village in the Lobe region in the Central African Republic. Okay. What is Arawak?
Nothing doesn't mean anything.
Are a group of indigenous people of South America and the Caribbean. So it does mean something.
No.
Greater Antilles and the Northern Antilles. Interesting. Oh, so maybe that's just what it was. It was like because like in Fred 2 or Fred 3, it's Camp I Want a Pee,
Sure.
and so it's always like camp like Native American tribe.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it was. But then why call it Sleepaway Camp? And so maybe part of that is like Peter is sleeping inside of Angela subconsciously, and then when Angela goes away, Peter comes out, and they're at camp. Maybe.
Okay. I think the title. I don't think that was intentional, but I think you can read that. I do have one more question for you. Do you think Angela has not said a word since the initial accident until she talks to Paul?
Oh, impossible.
Because
Like I know that's the
in the
thing,
scene with the mom, Peter doesn't say anything.
right?
And then the whole time Ricky's like, "Oh, she's just shy."
So why say something to that kid? Who is the kid? What's his name? Rory? Alex?
Paul? Ricky?
Paul?
Who are you talking
No,
about?
the dead guy. Paul.
Paul.
At the end, the
Paul.
head. Paul.
Yeah.
So why talk to Paul?
Because that's Ricky. Oh, why would Angela talk to
Yeah, why
Paul?
talk to Paul?
Well, because I wrote down Angela doesn't talk until she feels accepted, and like that's why she spoke to Paul.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that makes sense. And that's what I was that's what I was thinking
But
when I saw it. But then at the end, it took that away. I was like, oh,
yeah, I don't know exactly why Paul dies at the end.
well,
I wasn't really like thinking about that.
I assume just because she was betrayed, and so that's another thing of like discrimination.
But
But
she wasn't betrayed
also,
by Paul.
she kind of was.
Oh, because he kissed Judy.
Yeah, and that was enough,
Okay.
I guess. Maybe. I again, I don't know.
All right. Well, I think that's it. That's Sleepaway Camp. That's what I think.
Well, another thing that happens in the beginning, there's the first 20 minutes. I think there was a lot there, but after that, it all just kind of went away.
Yeah.
Like the first 20 minutes had no relevance to the second 60 minutes of the film, just because it again like the Robert Earl Jones guy.
Ooh! I hope y'all heard that.
Yeah, me too. But like the first 20 minutes had no connection to the second 60 minutes because like yeah, there's the thing with Robert Earl Jones, and then also something I wrote down. Ow!
Nice. The roommates are acting up again.
Is that like they're all, which is weird to me, I think, is that they're all just running down the hill in like this disarray.
That was also weird. People. I mean, granted, I only went to like church summer camp, but
Also in like the 2000s, not the 1980s.
people don't act like that when they get to camp.
And so I was like, oh, maybe this is something. Because then Mel was like, these daggum kids, you know, they just whatever. Because he says something at the beginning that's like that. That's kind of like disregarding the kids.
Right.
And then later he's like, oh, we'll just cover it up. So I thought that was going to tie into something, and then it didn't. Besides maybe him getting killed through the throat. Maybe that's symbolic, but it's a maybe.
Okay.
I didn't have any questions at the beginning of this film. I don't have any at the end of this film because I've just basically resigned to being like, this is just a bad movie. Which I hate to say because I know that I say a lot that every film has intention, but dang, I guess I'm... Maybe, you know what? I'm going to say slashers are the exception.
Okay. Well, so that is Sleepaway Camp. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you loved a lot. I hope you got to feed your little iguana some nuggets of knowledge. But we're not done with Sam Thompson yet because we have finally gotten a second photo of someone's parents.
Yes.
And so I am not going to partake in this.
Because
I know Chuck. I know Jennifer. I go to Sam's house all the time. So this I'm going to leave all up to Jake. He's going to look at this photo that Sam sent in of his parents and tell us the deeper meaning of Mr. and Mrs. Thompson.
All right, do you know where this place is? It looks like a zoo, maybe, or like a national forest.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got family all over the place. So
okay, it's very pretty. All right, so Sam, I am Green Eggs and Ham. This is at Soviet Bear 0409. Give him a follow. Parents, they're somewhere. Oh, I guess it must be a nature trail because he's wearing a shirt that says "Take a hike."
That sounds about right.
The first thing I'm gonna say is they definitely look like a Chuck and a Jennifer.
Nice.
All right, I'm gonna say that right now. All right, Chuck. Hey, no, this is a judgment-free zone. All right, I'm just saying what I'm seeing. You both have pretty standard 9-to-5 jobs. Chuck, I would not be surprised if you told me you were a firefighter at all, or had some aspirations to do that when you were younger. You probably taught baseball or some sport when Sam was in grade school. Sam, I feel like you probably played baseball or football. Maybe you were a football coach. You look like a football coach, but it was definitely one of those things. You're definitely a coach. Jennifer, you were definitely a dugout mom or a team mom for sure. You were a PTA or whatever it was in elementary school.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's the right acronym. Yeah.
Yeah, you were one of those. I say you're a pretty happy family. You fight sometimes, but not a lot. I'm gonna guess that you make between $70,000 and $120,000 combined at a annual family income. Let's see. The fashion sense is there, guys. You know, I'm sorry to say it, but it's just not. It's lacking a little bit. My grandma, she had that leopard print.
Yeah, she did.
And all I'm seeing, and my grandfather was a pirate.
So I don't remember.
All I'm seeing,
he was Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, he's Crocodile Dundee. All I'm seeing right now is a plain blue tee, a Walmart brand water bottle, and a Take a Hike shirt. But you know what? That's okay because you guys are happy, and that's what matters.
All right. Do you want one more little tidbit?
Yes.
This is not in the photo, but Sam's dad has a tattoo about this big of a duck on his ankle.
Ah, so he likes hunting.
Does that add anything to you?
Yes, it does. It only further proves what I think.
Okay.
Is that you're a bubber. You're a country. You're a good old country boy. And that's what I think. That's what the meaning of them is.
All right, so that is the meaning of Sam Thompson's parents.
Am I going to get to know how accurate I am?
Not on air, you're not.
Okay.
So, Sam, is that accurate? I know the answer. But again, this has been Al Pacino's Prison Scene. You know Sam from recommendations such as this movie we just did, Wayne's World, and Friday the 13th. He's also the boy that likes Ice King's Arc and Adventure Time and thinks Haichu is a candy, even though the definition he sent proves otherwise.
Also, he likes Regigigas.
He likes Reggie Wario.
Ah, right. My bad.
But that is not. We're not done with Sleepaway Camp yet, because fortunately for us this time, it has no blow-ups. So that means it is definitively.
I'm giving
a
this
bad
a
movie.
0.
A 0?
I'm giving this a 0, and I am not afraid
to
take a stand. Everybody, come take my hand. Is that what it is?
I don't know. I was gonna say hold my hand. I don't know. I don't know candy wrappers.
Weather
Do you get
through
that?
the
Do you
storm.
Get that? Do y'all get that? Probably not. I'm trying to remember. So I don't even think any of the kills could be misconstrued.
Nope.
As a blow up.
Don't even try. 0, baby. Let him have it. Who did this?
Who what?
Who did this?
Who made this?
Yeah.
Well,
the franchise. How'd they make 2 more of these?
Well, fun fact: the same guy did not make the second and third one. And the second and third one are actually spoofs of the genre. And then there's a fourth movie after that that's actually just a sequel to the first one.
Return to Sleepaway? Why is there so many?
Hold on. That one is just a sequel to the first one. So there's really only 2 movies in true canon. And Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 aren't actually in the canon because Angela's played by a different actress in those 2.
What the? Okay, Robert Hiltzik, you're on my list. All right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're on my list.
You're on our Shitler's list.
And oh my God, you're best known for this.
Yep.
That's
the cult classic.
That's just why.
It's a cult classic.
Look at this
cults
guy.
love classics.
Look at this guy. Take a look at him.
I really don't want to.
I hate it.
Let me see.
Right there.
See, look. This is what happens when you don't drink your pickle juice, kids. You end up looking like whatever this guy's name is. What's his name?
Robert Hiltzik.
Robert Hiltzik does not drink pickle juice. You heard it here first.
Wait, did he play that? Oh, wait a second. Did he play the guy?
Who's the guy?
Who's the guy? Wait a second.
R.I.P. Larry King.
Okay. Yeah, Rip Larry King. Wait, did he play? Who was? Okay,
what are you talking
Hold
about?
on. All
right, this movie, Jake's officially lost it, guys. Sam, you broke Jake. Congratulations.
Where is the guy who plays Artie? What's
his
name?
It only took 30 whatever episodes this is.
Okay, I'm going to IMDb for this. How does it have a 4.1?
People like this movie
on Google. Jake. Why? It has a 77 on Rotten Tomatoes. All right, you know what? Rotten Tomatoes, I don't trust you anymore. You lost me a little bit at Raya and the Last Dragon. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 98. It is not worth a 98%. It did.
Like a Baby Driver had a 100 when it released, and then it went down.
But you gave this a 77. Okay, budget was $350,000, and its box office was 11. Why? 11 million. They made $10 million off of this film.
Yeah, they did.
That's stupid. Oh, the cop at the very end with the black mustache. That was a fake mustache, right?
Well, the cop's in it throughout.
But that was a fake mustache, right?
I don't know.
It definitely was.
I'm not a fan. I don't do mustache gate. I let people
mustache gate.
I let people believe what they want to believe.
All right.
All right. So get done. Whatever you're doing, get done whatever you're doing.
All right, I'm done.
And tell the people what to know.
Okay, so I know I just mentioned Ryan the Last Dragon. I wrote a review because now we have a website that's just like a hub for all of our stuff. I know that we post when things are released and like we give you quick access to them, but now if you go to Al Pacino,
I'll link it.
Al Pacino's prison scene.wordpress.com, you'll get to go there, and that's just kind of going to be a place where our major streamings are. There's a bit of info about me and Thomas. There's a place where you can easily send us an email. The email is pacinopodcast@gmail.com. But if you go to that website, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's going to be a section where you can put your name, you can put your email, and then you can write us a message. Go ahead and do that. Give us any movie recommendations that you want or your thoughts on any of the movies we've done so far. Tell us if you think this is a bad movie. Sam?
It's on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, the whole movie.
Dang, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I watched it on Tubi.
So go check out that website. And then on Twitter, you can add us at PacinoPod, and you can send us pictures of your parents like Sam did here. Make sure to engage with us, guys. We want to hear you. We want to see you. We want to know your
I
parents.
thought you were gonna say we want to know that you're real.
I want to know.
What love is?
Yes. But
Yeah.
also,
I don't think they can help you there, Jake. As we proved the other night playing a game I'm not going to mention.
all right, why you got to do me dirty like that?
Dun dun dun.
That was for you, Zach, if you're listening.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Even if he was, he didn't make it this far. I can
Our
tell you
friends
that.
don't support us.
Hey man, all we need is a little box of cherry pot pie.
That's it. Because you know what? The world's a pot pie.
Yep.
Go check out that episode of Wayne's World.
That is real steel.
That is?
Yeah. Wayne's World is the Earth's a DVD player.
It always has been.
Yep.
Dude, I love that joke. All right. Don't forget to leave. Don't forget to rate us, guys. Leave us some comments. Go follow us. It really helps out a lot. I appreciate it. 0 out of 0 on the Pacino Pods blow ups rating not scale.
0 out of 5.
0 out of 5. 0 out of 100.
0 out of 0 means it's a 100.
0 out of 100 on this.
So before we go, all right, the Snyder Cut of Justice League was released a couple days ago. And
wait, no.
yes,
okay. Well, based on
yeah,
the recording.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, March 18th, baby. Woo.
So I'm curious. I want to know if you saw Justice League in theaters, or even if you didn't. If you have HBO Max, watch all 4 hours, all 6 chapters of
the 4x3
Zack Snyder's Justice League, because I want to know what you thought about it. But now that that's been released, we can start our campaign full force. # release the Sandler cut.
Release the Sandler cut. And with that,
it's been like 12 years in the making or whatever. I don't remember when Grown Ups came out, but we want to see the Sandler cut. Bring back the blow ups. # release the Sandler cut.
# release the Sandler cut.
And with that,
Stout and sauerkraut.
Stout and sauerkraut.
# release the Sandler cut. They couldn't understand that at all. Because they popped out of your